Okay. We're up to Tzaddik base. If I nicht doch let madrigos. Sometimes a person gets madrigos, eye levels open up to him. Be murak lefi shah, but only sometimes only temporarily it goes away. The charkach nelo matter that they're concealed from him. Closes surah and he goes back to his normal self, so to speak. Because meshukah type is to be sunk, to be um, mired is the proper English term, but tyvos in his desires. So in that case, when it happens to a person, the Tzadok says the Yeshua is bonely though a person should analyze the situation and be concerned. Penu chas v'shalom adesh chas perek chelek. Maybe it's among those who are described in Perek Chelek in Sanhedrin, Bedor Mabul, about the generation of the flood. She'tima me'ein olam haba, that they were given a taste of the world to come, right before they were destroyed. Vare Esau. Now it says, but Perek Kore in Maseches Brachos, Shak Bolam Haba, the world to come, Ein Bo Hanoah V'Chemda, there are no pleasures or indulgences. Me'inyone Taivas Olam Hazeh, of the of matters which are similar to the desires of this world. Radnani Maziv Ashkina, you only derive pleasure from the radiance of the divine presence. V'achar Prisichas Orka Zeh, so after they get this light, even though the people of the Mabul were such a low level and they were completely mired in the desires of this world, we have to assume that Hare Loyu Mabul. They couldn't have been the people of the flood. How could they have gone back to what they were? So it must have been opened up for them for a moment, for temporarily. Vanilla. And then it was hidden again. It's concealed. And this is the same thing in Madad the Isa. I don't know actually what that Heidal Av is. In Madad Davaracha, I think. With the other interpretation, the Sham, where it says another interpretation there, it says "Come as man koter achayz man gadol." He gave him a short time after a long time. In other words, Hashem gave him first 120 years to do tshuva. The time took Noach to build the teva, to build the ark, and then he gave him a short time of 7 days in order to do tshuva. And so he says, really, Tzadok says the same idea, that they were given a long time with a lesser revelation, just the fact that Noach was building the ark should have been a warning to them, and then they're given a short time with a much greater revelation, which is that Kodesh Baruch Hu sent in this message that with this great revelation of what Olam Haba is like, Ulaya Shuvu, the may do tshuva. This is why this is how Hashem did it, by opening for them this light. Where this light of the experience of the Yetzirah. And then he hit it, and immediately, a moment later, they went back to their desires. So that is another interpretation there, and it's similar interpretation. And a third interpretation that the Gemara says is about what Kodesh Baruch Hu gave them an extra time. That it was the 7 days, which are referenced there after the 120 years, were the days of mourning for Mitzvah Shelach who had just died. And it's the same idea, says Tzadok also. But in the Misa Tzaddikim Mechaperes, the death of the Tzaddik atones, just like the goat which was sent off the cliff atones on Yom Kippur. That's where it says in Yuma. We paskin, although it's a big machlokas, Rabbi Yehuda, Nasi, and others, but we paskin like the Rabbanan, who say that even the Sarah Mishalech, even for the goat which goes off the cliff, it doesn't atone unless you do tshuva. So, what's if you have to do tshuva anyway? What's the goat helping? The goat doesn't do anything. The goat is just a catalyst for tshuva. Rak, so Achiluk says, so the difference is like this, that Hashem is more poser pesach tshuva, that the So the goat, which went off the cliff, somehow was an avodas Hashem, which caused an opening for tshuva. It all was an opening for tshuva. Umeir oro, and Hashem illuminated the world. Which is with an arousal from on high. Kodem before he does anything to punish us. Kodem kanal. Also, therefore, during those days in which there was Avelus from Misu Shelach, there was also this arousal from on high, a light which came from above, before the destruction. After the long time, which had previously, when they could have returned to Hashem, on their own. So for 120 years, they were given the much lesser sign of Noach building the Teva, which was for them to get aroused on their own to do tshuva. When that didn't work, Baruch gave them 7 days of a great revelation, either because it was he showed them something like the days of Mashiach, or he gave him this small time again, which idea of evidently small time, which special connection after a longer time, or the death of Misushelach, and his the morning for him, which is a time of kapara. So Kosh Baruch they gave them a sarusa de leila, an arousal from above, to try and get the tshuva, and they didn't. So it says Tzadok in this pretty depressing piece. The Tzadok doesn't necessarily say things which make us feel good about ourselves. He says that they were given that sometimes a person who gets the urus arousal from above, what he's saying here, if it turns ontologically pre-existent as a primordial blueprint of all creation. So I'll say these according to those who appear to arise only of contingent historical events, since this is blood, all human cities are physically determined, and Mechir Chofsh is illusory. This is not to the Tzadok we're learning, right? Just stop a question. Where a person performs a mitzvah and is their kavanah a true casual causal factor, actualize a kiyum in time, really an epiphenomenal disclosure of time is decree. How can a person do the chefza shel mitzvah and the Arabic command and the gabra we reconcile chavetz the mitzvahs dynamically affect the upper worlds if their existence is merely necessary and pre-inscribed? In other words, the halach itself emerges from temporality or is ontological, absolute, merely mirrored by temporal performance. You know, the answer to all these questions is yes. They're different perspectives in Judaism. But it's not either or. They're different perspectives. So everybody has a different perspective. There's no absolute one perspective, which is the true perspective. Yeah, they're different ideas. You asking what my opinion is? I'm a scholar. I learn all opinions. I don't actually take sides. So there's implication human decisions are metaphysically predetermined, and Bechira Chodesh is illusory, which is very much the Ishbitzer's perspective. But on the same side, Kosh Baruch Hu says no, everything comes from you as well. That's their idea of Tzimtzum, according to many opinions, is that I shouldn't say many, according to Rav Dessler, is that they're on one hand things look like they're free will, and not necessarily free will, but on the other hand they are free will. It's like it says they're looking at a piece of paper. You look at it this way or look at it this way. It looks very different. Same thing when you look at from one direction, looks like there's ultimate free will. Look at the direction, looks like there's no free will. It's a matter of perspective. But the point is, from our perspective, in the Tzimtzum, it doesn't matter. Even if you say that ontologically everything was exists in the primordial blueprint of creation, we experience Bechira as the way we live our lives. And we can't say that we don't have Bechira. That was something which was taken to extreme by people like Shabtai Tzvi, who said that if they sin, it must be the Ratzon Hashem. It's not. There is this idea of Hashem has his plans, and you have the way you live your life. And the whole concept of the question of Idea versus Bechira, which Rama speaks about and others speak about, and it's hard to understand, and there's no good answer. And the best answer is that it's not that there's no Bechira, but rather there's no time before Tzimtzum, and therefore, since there's no time before Tzimtzum, everybody's free will takes place in a way which transcends time. That's the best answer. I'm not saying it's the only answer, and it's really not necessarily a full answer, but the answer is yes, there's free will. Yes, it's all predetermined. Why? Because there's only time inside the Tzimtzum. There's no time outside of Tzimtzum. Okay, so therefore, outside of Tzimtzum, everything is taking place simultaneously and eternally as one. That's the answer to the first question. Then a person mitzvahs a kavanah true causal factor. Yes, of course the kavanah is a true causal factor again, because time is a creation. And in time, when the person does is meaningful. And outside of time, everything is unified. But that's what we live in time. So that which outside time reflects that should takes place inside time. Is kavana okay? Kavana, according to the Briskers, is according to Misnagdim, is secondary. Even according to Hasidim, it's secondary, just as more of a role. But I don't know what I mean by causal factor, but it's important. It's less important than the mitzvah itself. I don't know what your question is, and I'm not sure what your question is. The Brisker Rav, the Brisker view about the Cheptzah Mitzvah and Gavra be reconciled. Brisker view, mitzvahs that heavily affect the upper worlds. I really understand the question itself. Halacha is both emergence temporality and is anthropological absolute. It's both. Okay. Uh, what is your Nakudas B'chir when feels test today? Every day it's different. How am I supposed to answer? Today it could be my Nakudas B'chir whether to break a fast or not. No, I don't really have the book. I don't feel there's much of a test to me to break the fast. But theoretically, every day is different. Slight differences. Not sure how. Not sure how detailed the question you're asking here. Do I have my entire life? I'm struggling with the of wasting time. Everybody wastes time. Sometimes people waste time less. Some people waste time more. But wasting time is an actual, really, for everybody, every day, in every way. Okay, so I hope that's a classic example. So some people that are wasting time is over here, some over there, but like even the Gra is ostensibly on Arab Yom Kippur would cry on a few hours of Bit Torah had during the course of the year. Shmuel Kanievsky had a few hours of Bit Torah during the course of the entire year, but the Chutz B'chir and everybody else is between hundreds of hours of wasted time and non-wasted time. Okay. So getting back to this Reb Tzadok, so again, Reb Tzadok says that a person can have revelations. I don't know when a person has these revelations, but every revelation is also relative. In other words, the revelations which are great revelations which are small revelations. When a person feels they're a high madreda, they're supposed to take the opportunity and try and do something which actually is going to cement that and make that something which is part of their life, and not chas v'sholom that they get a high moment gets lost. And it's not so simple. Sometimes the high moment gets translated to life by davening with greater kavanah, even one tefillah. But one has to try and make sure that one's high moments are translated some for reality. Otherwise, they are potentially something which is dangerous and negative. Okay, so and this is very related to the next piece. A person illuminates to a person, person not used to it yet. It's hard for him to accept it, this great revelation which he gets. It's not for him like a peg which is embedded in a strong place which is not going to wobble. And he loses it. But then a person can pursue it. And quest for it. But it might be too late. Hashem says, "Okay, I gave you the opportunity. Why'd you take when I gave it to you? So you're a bit late to the game." Ketainas Hashivenu, we say to Hashem, Hashivenu Hashem Elech Menashuva, take us back to you. And Hashem says, "No, Shuva Elai Shuva Elechem. You come back to me, then I'll come back to you." You love a koshigodo. And the sometimes takes great difficulty. Kinyan Shotzitzi, Tzotzitzi, Lord Sisa. Now, what I want, you didn't want. Achshav, now you want, I don't want. Zedya Matator Shaya B'Kfiyah. Says the concept of the Torah, Hashem gave them a great revelation, which compelled Am Yisrael to accept the Torah. But it took them a while to respond in kind, hundreds of years, almost thousands of years. Then finally, days of Achashverosh, they accepted the Torah with love and out of their own desire. But they didn't get the same miracles at the times of Ezra when they accepted Torah out of love at the time of Yeshua ben Nun earlier. Because the sins they committed in the meantime impeded that. It's a rachet kodim, the prior sins. The Shechina did not come down the same base of Mikdash, first base of Mikdash. Okay, but nevertheless, despite the fact that if you miss the opportunity, you don't get the same thing. Torah, even though the Torah is given much earlier, all of its advantages. Ayin Sham Shiva Yud Zayis Maos Choshim. I don't know what they all found, but the 17 advantages that had. Lo you had Abayis Hasheni. The fact that there's no shechina doesn't mean that there's no great opportunities. I just was editing videos I give it a video I gave into on the 3 weeks into shorts, and I was supposed to be in this. So it says elsewhere. He says that sometimes the fact that things are not great makes you accomplish even more. Like we know, even from darkness, you get great light, and the light from darkness is greater than the light which comes from light. So therefore, it says Tzadok, yeah, sometimes you miss the revelation. Sometimes you didn't work it at the right time. And it's when you get back, it's not to say, when you finally do get around to working it, it's not going to be the same level. But that doesn't mean it's not good for you, because you might accomplish more out of the darkness, out of the light. Accomplish more by Sheni and by Rishon. All of our Torah Shema pass in by Sheni. Very little comes us in by Rishon. Okay, we have Torah a lot of Nevi'im, but it's not the same level of importance for Am Yisrael as the Torah Shema pass. They didn't put one stone on another stone when they came to build the Beis Hamikdash. Before they could build Kodesh Baruch to reveal them secrets that they didn't know in the first Beis Hamikdash. Even though it was a lower Beis Hamikdash, but they compelled the Kodesh Baruch Hu. The Kafu Keneged Kfiyas Harkegigis, the Matan Torah, and Hashem compelled them to receive the Torah at the time of Matan Torah in Midbar Sinai. Mida Keneged Mida, we compel the Kodesh Baruch Hu by Sheni to reveal to us secrets. Amazing statement. Amazing, stunning statements. And what is this compelling? The Yesh Lamar says the Kfiyah Zu, this compelling, who bittul Yetzirah. It's when Chazal, the Anshe Torah, said, we're going to get rid of the Yetzirah of Avodah Zarah. Forget it. No more Avodah Zarah. We command you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, that you have to get rid of this Yetzirah for us. And it worked. And that's a remarkable thing, that sometimes, because of the deficit, because there's less light, then we're more active and we accomplish more. And that's the time second Beis Hamikdash. So don't think that Lor Madregas means you accomplish less. That's if you're waiting for the light to come, but you're not supposed to wait for the light to come. You're supposed to generate the light. So Shem didn't want to cancel the Yitzhak Avodah Zarah. Chazal said, too bad. Hashem said, like Gemara says, Kodesh Baruch Hu said, I made the Yitzhak. I want the Yitzhak. Amisol says, no, we're not compelled you to get rid of it. Which is a fascinating, paradox in Judaism, that Kodesh Baruch Hu has his Ratzon, and we have our Ratzon. And sometimes Hashem's Ratzon is triumphant, and sometimes our Ratzon is triumphant. And that's like Kodesh Baruch Hu says the Gemara of Tanur Shalach Noi, when Elazar ben Hurkos he was defeated by Shem, was so to speak defeated by Rabbi Yeshua, and said Lo b'shamayim he nitzchuni b'nai nitzchuni. Hashem likes being vanquished by his children, so to speak. The Eitzah, when you have to conceal it, who divrei Torah is to immerse yourself in Torah. Like it says, the Medrash Rabbah, very famous, even Hashem says, let them leave me. And keep my Torah. That's the end of that Medrash. Very famous Medrash, the light in Torah will bring them back to good. He says what I said before, Mishnah. All the Chachmei should began by Sheni. That's why it says that the advantages of the Torah were there much more in Bay Sheni and Bay Rishon. And that's really greater. In the final analysis, that which is accomplished with Chachma, with our own knowledge and our own understanding and our own wisdom, is greater than that which is accomplished through prophecy. So therefore, going back to the Shekhinah never departed. The Shekhinah, but most of it departed. There's always always the hidden light, but it can be very hidden. Obviously, the light never goes away completely, but it's very dark. So, but the idea, so that this the previous piece and this piece are two sides of the coin. The previous piece said you have to be worried if you don't use the revelation, but the flip side is that even if you miss the revelation, sometimes it can be even better, as long as you use the opportunities you get when you get them even though you missed the revelation, sometimes the darkness is better for you. And accomplish more of the challenge of darkness, the challenge of the lack of revelation, because you're using your own resources, your chokhmah, your bina, your das, and that in of itself is a very high madrega, and even more of the Ratzon Hashem than Hashem should be mashpia to you. So it's even more of the Ratzon Hashem that we should overcome, that we should dictate to Hashem than Hashem dictates to us. So therefore, the idea is that, but even though Bai Sheni was a much lower madrega, and it was Ami's response after a long, long time, which they didn't respond properly, in the end, Amisol benefited and accomplished much more in the darkness than in the light. Okay, so that is, I speak about this briefly over here. If you go to my shorts, and this is one I just posted. Go this morning, but fulfilling our mission. So that go take a look at that, and you can actually listen to the longer video, which is linked in the link there, and that's the idea. Okay, very good. We should review Bizarre use the 3 weeks the proper way, as I speak about in several of these videos here. Have a good week.